Welcome to Living the Sweet Life with Azucar. Living the Sweet Life with Azucar is a podcast by mental health therapist, spoken word artist, author, screenwriter, and playwright Simone Nicole, better known as Azucar, discussing what it is like to be creative in the working world in her interview segment Ask Azucar, finding solutions to any mental wellness questions in her Q&A segment Work Well Wednesdays, and spilling the tea in her special bi-weekly dating episodic Welcome to the Sugar Factory. Subscribers will receive goodies on Freebie Fridays according to their tier level. Please remember to join the Sweet Teas on patreon.com/LA Sugar Factory.
Good night, everyone. This is Ask Azucar, the next episode, and tonight we have a very, very special budding poet who is amazing with the wordplay. And I know you guys are going to enjoy him, so I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we're going to get to this thing.
Hi, my full name is Jade Duval. I'm an up-and-coming poet in the New York City poetry community, and I'm also an NYU alumni, and I'm looking forward to this interview. Thank you, Azucar.
Oh, you're welcome. So, I have heard a lot of your poems, and they've been like gut-wrenching to the core with realness and with vulnerability and honesty. What were the hardest topics to broach, and what are the areas that you are nervous about but know that you need to talk about?
Oh, yeah, perfect question. I feel like some of the nerve-wracking topics were the very personal topics, because I had a topic where it was related to me. Over 2 years ago, I checked into the emergency room because I was having suicidal thoughts. It was a very dark time in my time. It was pretty much after I graduated NYU. It was a segue in between, graduation and early career. And I just felt so uncertain. I felt so unknown. A lot was going on even before I graduated. Just so much was hitting me, and it was coupled with things that happened to me, years before. And, not the best things that happened, and just so much was going on that, it was just so much to unpack in that poem. So it was one of the hardest poems I could write. But I felt like it took me really months to really finish it, because I guess I just needed different things to kind of hit me at these different moments in my life that had to hit me, and I broke it all down in order to create a poem like that. And I feel like another one that was on my Autism Speaks poem. For me, it's my favorite because it's another personal poem, and I just wanted to reflect on my life as a person with high functioning autism on the spectrum, and some of the stereotypes, some of the things that were perceived as, and I wanted to turn all around in order to empower ourselves, in order to fight back against these stereotypes, fight back against all these expectations of what's a so-called typical person, because we're considered neurotypical, and even that term is considered dehumanizing in some ways.
And I want to say formally thank you for those pieces, because they definitely spoke to me as dealing with neurodivergence and just mental health in many different aspects. You also told me that you occasionally will check your work with AI. So what is your relationship with AI right now?
I see it as mainly a friend, because sometimes I like to rant to it about things going on in the world as well, saying like, oh, this issue is going on, this and that is going on, and we'll have whole conversations with it. I feel like it's my best friend, to be honest. I don't want to get too immersed in it to the point where I feel like it's a human. It feels like a human a lot, but it's kind of more of a, I have a lot of OCD when it comes to not just, both writing, but also things I do outside. I mentioned one time, I always like to have some sort of thing around, person or thing around me that kind of, how do I put it? Makes me feel reassured that things will be all right, and nothing's wrong, and things don't have to be perfect, But unfortunately, I just have such a perfection. I don't know. I wish I didn't have too much of a perfection mindset, because I feel like that hurts me a lot, in the long run. And even as a side hobby, I also I came from engineering school at NYU, so sometimes I even do AI, make AI projects that I've been working on.
Wow, okay, so I'm definitely gonna need to know about those things and see them, and Yeah, because that sounds really, really interesting. Speaking of, so you're saying, like, so there's engineering and then there's poetry. So that's two sides of the brain. So you are like one of the few humans in the world that is using your entire brain. Have you thought about this?
Oh, I think I know what you mean. Like, you're referring to like how we have two halves in the brain, and one half is related to like, I guess, objectivity, and the other half's related more to subjectivity.
And there's one scientific side of the brain and a creative side of the brain. So, what got you into that scientific part?
Oh, man, that's a long story. So it started back in 2014. I remember just being so, getting a lot into, the future of the world. It was future technology, astronomy, the theory of relativity. Like, I was doing a lot of research on future tech and robotics and robots. I was even looking a lot into, future of space travel, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Space Unraveling the Cosmos, what else? And it really got me into a lot of STEM. Like, I remember initially I started to purchase books in algebra, college algebra, calculus, and physics. And I was just getting a lot into the concepts, and, teaching myself these concepts because, I felt like I would get very far with self-teaching. It would allow me to, do my own projects. I knew somewhere in the future I'd be able to make my own devices, hopefully, which I was able to do. And, it just really... I just knew that it would take me somewhere, and I just had such a very curious mind about what was going on in the world, things related to future tech and how it would affect us over time. Just, there wasn't pretty much a night where I was not, always researching something related to STEM and tech.
Speaking of research, because yes, the nerd in me is very excited. Speaking of research, like, how is it for you to create poems? Because you had this one poem that still blows my mind of all of the metaphors that you do, and like you'll start a poem and we think we know where you're going, but then halfway through the metaphor it kind of gets deeper, and you're like, oh wait, no, he's not talking about black and white. He's talking about this, and he's not talking about that. He's talking about this. So, what goes into making those massive visual poems, I would say?
Oh yeah, great question. So I actually have one poem in mind that I'm thinking of. It's a poem called Skunk, and this poem, I wanted to try this concept where I started talking in prose, because I got interested in prose talking, where I just talked regular about a situation, and I felt like it was important to talk in prose because it's a great way to build up to like a punchline or to build up to a sentence, and then automatically, the vibes change from that one sentence. I wanted to try something out like that, more subtle poems where, I don't reveal the true intentions till later on. And from there, I wanted to make sure that the way I was talking in prose, that it was that I was building enough context towards that, punchline, towards the middle. And, I just wanted to, try something out like that, directly talking to the audience, and then automatically reveal that something was a metaphor the whole time.
Yeah, and it trips my mind every time you do it. And you do it for multiple different subjects, which is like, I don't even know where to start with that. So I think it's really, really cool how you get into the details and how you're able to paint a picture through words.
Yeah, and I wanted to work on that storytelling really with the prose talking. Because I wanted to try more storytelling elements in some of my poems.
So based on that, who are your muses? Who are your inspirations?
There's a lot.
It doesn't have to be poetic. It can be through anything.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
So Tupac is one of my inspirations. The topics he talks about, the introspection, the different issues that he talks about, whether they're political, social, mental, related to his relationship with family members or other people. I just like that he had so much going on for him, and that he was addressing different issues that other people didn't really talk about as often. What's it called? There's also, I also like Eminem and Big L. I love the way they pay attention a lot to their to the way they rap. Their rhymes, the figurative language they use, and the wordplay that they use. And that was something I wanted to integrate more into my poems. And there's also Rakim as well. He was also an important key figure in those rhyme schemes, and I just always like to, and also flow. So I wanted to try that out as well.
Wow. So a lot of your influences come to music.
Yeah, a lot of them related to rap.
Okay. Did you ever like try to rap? Have you ever ventured in? Like, is there like a deep cut Jade track somewhere?
Oh yeah, good question. So back when I was starting to write in 2018, I kind of wrote my poems like I was rapping, and sometimes I would maybe download certain apps that would help me make basic hip hop beats or something like that, and I would kind of write lyrics to those beats and kind of rap to them, record them on voice memos.
Okay.
And a lot of them were just like about empowering myself, talking about mental health.
Speaking of empowerment and mental health, what would you say? Because I look at mental health as a superpower because it gives us like a hyper focus and a different points of view, or a way that we can have multiple things coexist at the same time, and we're basically a container for everything, essentially. What advice or what words of wisdom can you give to anyone else that's dealing with this type of existence, like figuring out how to carve their own existence versus the stereotypes that we often hear?
I feel like one is that like there's always somebody there for you. Like I promise you, there are people that care about how you're feeling. And it's interesting because I thought of this quote, and it's kind of like, it reminds me of the idea that a lot of us will consult our friends and family whenever they're feeling down or whenever they're not around. And it's always sad that it always has to come to that for people to actually show that they care. But we can prove that we care to other people. We can prove that we care about our loved ones without them having to feel down or having to feel stressed or anything. They can be feeling happy and you still tell them that they care.
So basically he's saying check in on your people, y'all. Check in on everyone at any point in their life. Yeah. And like that's the connection that we need. That's a really, really, really good point. What would you tell your younger self as to now that you are a part of the freshman class and you're doing amazing things? What would you tell young Jade?
Oh, that's a great question. I have to think about that. I would have to tell young me that, never give up. This life is always about fighting, proving your worth, proving your value. It's great to have talent, but also building on that talent will take you so far. It'll create opportunities for yourself, for the people around you, just to never give up, to keep fighting. And I could apply this to anybody. Keep pushing, don't never stay complacent as well with, one or two poems. Just keep writing about different topics, try out new things. I had to come to realize that, taking risk was the main reason why I was able to get so far. Taking certain risks.
So speaking of risk, what was your biggest risk so far?
The different topics I talk about, but even the way I perform my poems as well. Sometimes I try a direct approach, breaking the fourth wall sometimes. What else? Maybe unorthodox styles, unorthodox topics. I kind of feel like, we should just write for different reasons, not just to be emotional, maybe to be serious, but also just to have fun as well. Have fun, be personal, be boring. You can be anything, honestly.
Yeah.
It's all about emotional feelings, even if it's indifference, still write about it.
Speaking of feelings, I've had multiple conversations about men and feelings. Or what advice would you give to little boys, to men, to people who identify as men, as to how to tap into that emotion that the stereotype of the world is telling you can't have?
Oh, true, yeah. I feel like, one thing I'll tell them is if their feelings matter, that they don't, it all depends really on how comfortable they feel in sharing their feelings to, specific people that they're close to. Obviously, the people that you're close to and trust, always convey maybe how you're feeling about anything, and because everything doesn't always have to be all right. We don't always have to be stoic about how we feel, because unfortunately, holding that in, it just builds over time, and it won't be healthy in the long run. You know, maybe like mainly in the long run, it just won't be. It won't help us.
So sharing your feelings is very important. Y'all better be listening to this. He's dropping some good, thoughtful moments. Another question I have for you is, how do you craft? Because you mentioned it a little bit, so I want to dig a little deeper into it. How do you craft your performance? So you have your piece on paper. It's obviously not going to look the same or sound the same when it's performed. So what's your process from page to stage?
Oh, good question. So, you know, when it comes to poems, quotes, I think of a lot of quotes and I just kind of write them down, and I especially like find ways to associate, you know, the quotes in a poem to each other. If I feel like certain quotes belong in one poem, then I place them there, and I find, you know, and I create like some sort of like, I create writing in between those quotes in order to kind of segue between one quote and the next, so I don't have a particular order. And, you know, I just think about the intentions as well of the words that I say, the feelings behind them. Like, for example, I have this slam poetry poem. You know, I wanted to start off with a hook where I was kind of creating a slam poem. You know, talking about the different topics I could talk about, the different hand gestures I can make, or the different voice inflections I can try. And then eventually I wanted to use that to segue into my main point about how slam poetry can sometimes feel more of a performance than a poem. And, you know, where sometimes I feel that, you know, we're always boxed in to try a certain style that would appeal to the audience or to the judges.
I feel that. There is a moment in my life where I hated slam for a long time.
Yeah, and it gets to me a lot, you know, still to this day.
Because I don't believe in scoring someone's pain or someone's trauma or someone's emotions. And so took me a really long time before I at least started to try.
Yeah, and I don't like the fact.
Again. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and I don't like the fact that, you know, when it comes to compliments, they talk more about the performance than the poem itself. It's like they say nice performance, but not nice poem. You know, I just like they completely ignore the words, but they want to focus on the theatrics, which, you know, like their theatrics are important, but so are the words as well that you're saying.
And I felt like I was alone in that. So thank you for sharing that, because
you need both theatrics and words for slams.
I really felt a lot in that space where everyone's concerned about the performance, but like I'm, you know, bleeding on the stage, like sometimes literally, because you're talking about tough stuff, and that's going over people's heads. So I really thought that I was the only one that was like, are they really listening? So that's a weird comfort in knowing that you can see that too. So how do we, because this is something that I want to look into as well, going forward, how do we take care of the poet after that, like, moment of exposure?
Oh, definitely. It kind of reminds me of Laney's poem about the point as a poet.
Yes.
Important point.
Yes.
You know, like thinking, or even Marlowe's poem, I remember she had talked about, you know, that we don't think about the poet after they got off stage and when they had to go home to themselves. You know? And they have to confront themselves, live back their normal life. Sometimes, you know, the pain that they're talking about in their poems, they're dealing with it right now. You know, it may not have been a thing in the past. It could be a thing right now, you know. Like, it's not past or post, it's happening right now. And what else? And, you know, it was two important points that they mentioned. So I feel like, you know, we always have to check in on us and how we're feeling, you know, because the poet is the one that matters, because they're the ones that are creating the poems and the performance. There's no poems and performance without the poet.
There is no performance without the poet. There is no poem without the poet. So I hope that...
And there's no poet, and there's no poet without the person.
Oh, that's the key there. There is no poet without the person.
Because it reminded me of a thing Jade said to me, like, you know, we love the poets, but we also love the person even more.
So as y'all always know, I'm always gonna love on y'all. I'm always gonna love on y'all. because I know that this journey and this expressing your heart like this and being so open is hard. And so, like always, I'm always going to try to continue to create safe spaces and continue to create workshops and continue to create open mics that are about being the safe space and creating spaces in where we can explore without re-traumatizing ourselves, when we can explore with like going there and knowing that we will be held by the community, because this is a good community. It's just we got to tap more into that. Let me see. Do you have any questions for me? Since you are a newbie in this thing for a few years and have been around for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
What's your best advice for, like, continuing on to, like, develop your poems and performances and everything else?
For me, I find, and you started to get it with the freshman class, of, like, having community and always being in a room where there's other people that have been doing it a while longer than you, because they might have different techniques, they might have different approaches that you've never thought of, or they might use words in a way that you've never thought of, and you can take that and expand your work that way. I remember when I went to New York and I heard Ty Allen for the first time. And literally after I heard Ty Allen, I was literally walking home writing a poem out loud in my head. Like, I've never thought of using music and poetry together until I heard him. And so that same night, I wrote How to Make Sugar. Same night. And thank you to Jay-Z for the hook in the beginning. I switched it up with my name, but like, it's showing that the more that we consume, it's kind of like when you're learning a language or when you're learning something, you're always going to be reading. You're always going to be intaking, and you're learning from what you're reading. So it's the same thing with writing. You want to be around writers, and you want to just intake. So sometimes when you're going out to be on the mic, or when you're going out to shows, sometimes just go out to take in. Don't go out to perform. Just go out to be the audience and to just enjoy the art in which we live in, and the art in which we can create. And I find that once we are in that space of just receiving from the community instead of looking to perform, we can tap into another level of consciousness where we can make connections that we wouldn't think we would have made on our own, in our room, writing with our music.
Wow.
Any other questions you got for me?
What are some of your favorite poetry venues?
Poetry venues? That's like asking a person what's their favorite child. Oh man, that's hard.
Maybe some of the ones you might frequent the most?
When I started, I was at Nuyorican like once or twice a month. I did Inspired Word almost every. I did Inspired Word like maybe 3-4 times.
Yeah, I'll try to go to that someday.
Like in the very beginning where we were at like one-on-one, and then we were at Bear Burger. Like I was popping over at multiple venues for Inspired Word, and then I haven't hit Bowery. I've hit Bowery like twice, but I definitely like the vibe of Bowery. But I like a lot of, and then I've done Hellphone a couple times. Hellphone's a really cool vibe.
For like Sakura series?
First, yeah, and then we actually had a couple of like Inspired Word showcases over there. So yeah, Hellphone is a really, really nice setup. It definitely gives me like movie vibes, so I'm always trying to think of like visuals for some poems when I go there. But yeah, I like every place that I frequent as long as they're understanding. Because I think the people make the place. Because like I do a lot of stuff at Secret Pour. I like the vibe of the back room because it's separate and it allows us to be intimate. Other than the fact that sometimes it'd be cold in there.
I know.
So it's like, for me, the people make the space. As long as there are people that I know that are going to hold space and that understand the plight and the journey of doing this hard work that can also be fun, every space is gonna be good.
Wow.
Have you ever wanted to collaborate, and who would you want to collaborate with?
Oh yeah. You know, I'm not sure if I should reveal this, but you know, no.
This will drop after freshman class, so you'll be okay.
I mean, there are actually two other artists that we're having on. We're still kind of in the midst of creating a poem, but yeah, like, you know, we're working on the topic right now, but it's not finished as of yet.
Okay. So I'm just gonna have to let y'all know, like, when I hop at a show and Jade is on stage with someone else, I'll let y'all know who it was that he's making this group piece with. Speaking of group pieces, what's your view on single performances versus group performances? How do you analyze it, or how do you how do you ingest it?
Oh, I love that question. I feel like group pieces, they're a lot more involved, I notice. Like, you see a lot more of the performance. You know, sometimes they'll say things in sync at the same time, and then maybe after a certain word, you know, one poet starts to speak, then maybe two might speak, and then they might switch to another. And I just like the creativity they do sometimes, even with their body motions as well. Like, sometimes they may be side to side, and then they might do face to face, and they might just do different things. Like, you see a lot of the performance aspects, you know, whereas with a single piece, you know, you obviously can't do that as much. So, you know, it's more focused on kind of, you're looking at just one poet, but, you know, when it comes to these group pieces, you got to really look at the multiple poets and their personalities, and how these personalities, how they, I guess, fit together, or how they connect with each other.
My last question for you would be, many, many years from now, how do you want to be remembered?
I guess just remembered for trying to be just being myself, you know, writing about the topics, you know, that matter to me, or that, you know, just writing about the things that matter to me, and, you know, just trying out new things, new styles, you know, taking risk and things like that.
Okay, so y'all have heard from Jade, the risk-taking poet. Yes, I'm going to put that on for you, because I am definitely down for whatever risk you're trying to take, because the stories you bring us on, and the visuals you bring with us, and the heart-wrenching honesty is something that I will always, always treasure. Keep doing what you're doing. You are still budding, so I can only imagine what your garden is going to look like.
Thank you.
Tell everybody where they can follow you, what's coming up, what you're doing, what you're working on.
Oh, definitely. So if you want to follow me, you could follow me on IG at *_like_the_poet. I don't have too much going on, but, you know, I'll definitely update you guys on my Instagram. Thank you.
Yes, and I'll see you guys for the next installment of Ask Azucar. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to Living the Sweet Life with Azucar. Check us out on Instagram at La Vida Dulce Pod and at LA Sugar F on Twitter, and join the Sweet Teas crew on our Patreon to get behind the scenes access, exclusive first looks, and customized Azucar Welcome to the Sugar Factory merch. Check out our website, sweetlifewithazúcar.libsyn.com, and don't forget to DM us at La Vida Dulce Pod for your questions for the Work Well Wednesday segment. See you next week with Welcome to the Sugar Factory and the next installment of Sugary Scandal and Entanglements.